All right, so my old school, a long time ago, my real old school, would hold a spelling bee every year, right? And I was in the second grade at the time. They would hold a spelling bee. The annual spelling bee was coming around the corner, and to be able to participate in the spelling bee, first you had to pass like I guess like the qualifiers. Let's say that. I guess they were the qualifiers, and each class would hold qualifiers for the people who wanted to participate. You would come in, and the teacher would give you some words, and you would have to spell them out in the class. And then if they see you do good, then they let you go on to the actual spelling bee, the big boy spelling bee, to make sure that like kids who didn't stand a chance didn't absolutely embarrass themselves when the spelling bee came around. So they wanted to make sure the people who were participating in the spelling bee actually knew how to spell to a solid degree. So the qualifiers came around. I popped off, dude. I popped off. And remember, this was second grade, so I was doing pretty good. I qualified. Some other people qualified. I think like three or four other students qualified. I don't really remember. Like I said, it was the second grade. It was years ago, dude. I don't really remember, but I qualified. I popped off, and I don't mean to toot my own horn or anything, but in the second grade, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of an intellectual juggernaut for the second grade. I cannot fib. I can't. So the spelling bee came rolling around, the actual spelling bee, and we were just going up there back and forth. It was all the classes too. It wasn't just second grade. I was just in the second grade. It was me and my other classmates. I don't even remember their names, to be honest, dude. But we were all going back and forth. I was popping off. They were giving me some omega hard words, dude. Some profoundly hard words for the second grade. They were telling me, Isaac, spell supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I would spell it out, then I'd spell it backwards in an alphabetical order just for the fun of it, because I was doing so good, dude. I was popping off. Eventually, it was me and one other student for the second grade class. There were still other students, but it was just two of us left for second grade. So me and that student would go up there. We would just stand, like, I would stand in front of them. They'd stand behind me. They would give me a word, and I would go behind them. They give them a word until one of us got a word wrong. So that went on. That went on for like a solid 10 minutes or so. And I would look in the audience. I would see them. They were like, "Good God, can one of these fiends please mess a word up so we can all go home already, dude? Good Lord, let's move on." But we were popping off, dude. It was me and some other kid, but we were doing really good. And they, like I said, they were giving us some hard words, dude. They were popping off. Then all of a sudden, they decided to give me the word fruit. The word fruit. And like I said, before this, they were giving me words that some adults would struggle to spell, that me myself right now would struggle to spell. My second grade self was a force to be reckoned with, and I was popping off. I was on a fast track to win this thing, because as the spelling bee was going on and on, I thought the words would be getting harder and harder. It seemed like the kid in front of me was struggling a little, taking a little bit more time to spell the words, to think about it and spell the words. I thought I was on a fast track to win this thing, and all of a sudden I hear fruit. What in the world? You just gave me spelled combustion or some garbage, and then you give me fruit. So there I am. I walk up to the podium. It's my turn. I go up to the mic. I'm looking out in the audience. They spell the word fruit. Spell fruit. I said Fruit. I said E. I put an E at the end of the word, dude. Oh my God. I have never seen so many disappointed faces in my life. I looked out in the audience when they heard me say T. They were like, yeah, and then I said E, and they were like, "Oh my God!" I was looking at my mom. Oh my God! You could see the exact moment she died on the inside. I heard my teacher groan in frustration, because it was the most anticlimactic ending ever. We were popping off on these omega hard words, and then all of a sudden, fruit is the word I trip up on, and I had the word right. I had it won. I had it. Fruit. Well, I added an E at the end. What is wrong with me? I thought I was good. I genuinely thought that was how I spelt the word. I thought fruit had an E in it. I thought it had an E at the end of it. Then all of a sudden, "I'm sorry, that is not correct." And then the other student, I was flabbergasted. I was like, "How in God's name is that wrong? I'm telling you, there's an E in fruit. There has to be an E in fruit." The other student comes up, they tell him to spell apple or some garbage. They get it right, and then they win the whole thing. That was the most ungodly thing I've ever seen in my life. I still, to this day, I cannot live that down. I can't live that down, that I messed up a spelling bee that I had in my back pocket to the word fruit. The word fruit will forever haunt me in my dreams for the rest of my life. I did redeem myself the very next year. I popped off and won the entire spelling bee the very next year. They didn't give me fruit. I was hoping they would so I could like redeem myself, but they didn't give me fruit in the 3rd grade. But I still cannot believe I messed up on fruit. Fruit, dude. Good Lord. I went home and I wrote down the word fruit like 50 times to ingrain it in my cerebrum that fruit does not have the letter E in there, dude. It was the most ungodly thing I've ever seen in my life. And I threw that spelling bee so hard. That was absolutely incredible. I've never seen so many disappointed faces in my entire life. You could see you know how people like do the wave and stuff? Like you could just see the shocked faces flow through the crowd, dude. It was absolutely incredible. That was one of the most ungodly things I think I've ever done in my entire life. That was absolutely profound, dude. Jesus Christ.